if you want to build, you can build a multi-million dollar business in freaking Q-tips. You can build a multi-million dollar business in, car sales, in restaurants, like whatever it is doable, and you cannot blame the macro environment at all. Um, Once you get into hundreds of millions or billions of revenue, and your goal is to go from zero to that over, 5, 10, 20 years, the macro risks are really high.
Hmm.
And you have to predict the future and ride waves that are impossible for anyone to know. Because if they were possible, then VCs would be more accurate, right? But even the best VCs bat like a baseball player at 300. And that's unheard of.
But
Like that's
but the good
legend.
news is their Grand Slam home runs are worth thousand, 1,000 runs versus just four. Um, Go on. You want to finish
Yeah,
that?
so typical VC, if they bat 10%, they're killing it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's better than zero. As long as you're better than zero as a VC, you're pretty much doing well. Um, and so uh, in startup land, you do have a lot of macro risk, and there's just no way around it. And there's not a startup out there that has the potential to get to hundreds of millions or billions of dollars that doesn't have macro risk, especially on a 10-year horizon. And as a result, you kind of have to accept that when you start a startup.
Yeah, there's this really simple exercise I learned from the Conscious Leadership Group that I love called sorting the files. And the idea is you have two manila file folders, for those who remember what those are. And one file folder is entitled Things I Can Control, and the other file folder is entitled Things I Can't Control. And the real issue with control is confusing which things go in which folder, right? Because I see so many, especially founders, try to control things that they can't control, even with firing people, like how the person's going to feel, right? I had a conversation this morning with a client who's like trying to figure out, what to say to get the person to feel the thing they want them to feel, right? That's an example of trying to control something that's not in your control versus just speaking your truth and they'll have the experience they have. And similarly, or letting someone go and letting them have their experience. They might be sad, they might be angry, they might be scared, and not trying to control that. Or like you're saying, like these macro, environment, tariffs, governmental, that there's, and we could maybe just call it luck at some level, right? It's just the humility to recognize there's a certain, well, we could just say there's things that are within your control and things that are not.